Hello, everybody. Good morning. This is Dave Wood. I haven't done really too many videos. I haven't really done too many videos this last year. My place is a little bit messy right now, so excuse the mess in the background. I'll adjust and get some different angle or something this way. There we go. A little bit less. No, that looks about the same amount of mess. I'm just going to leave it. All right. I'll just clean my house a little bit later. It's the morning. It's about 9:36, and I wanted to pop on here and just share a message with you. And I think that this will help you because I think that a lot of you sometimes you go through hard times in your life where it seems like nothing you do is going to change a destiny that you're heading towards that's really making you frustrated, or maybe you're trying to get some sort of result, or you're trying to accomplish some sort of an outcome, or you're trying to create a new future and a new vision for yourself. And along the way, you run into obstacles and you run into problems that seem unsolvable. Like it could be, you get smacked with a really big bill. That could happen to you. It could be something like a business that you really believe in goes out of business. Have you ever had anything like this happen to you? It could be a relationship that turns their back on you and ditches you. You know what I mean? That can happen to you. And what I just want to encourage you, and this will be a relatively short message this morning because I'm in the middle of a bunch of stuff. What I would encourage you to realize is that if you don't give up on your dreams, they are going to happen. Whether they're going to happen the way that you originally laid out or that you originally got excited about is something different. I mean, maybe they're going to happen the way that you wanted them to happen, and maybe they're not. Maybe they're going to take a lot longer to happen. Maybe you're going to have to go a little bit more of a complicated route. Hey, what's up, man? Joao Philippe. I never give up. I don't either, man. So, I just had some major setbacks hit me personally this year. And I don't really want to talk about them much because, in one sense, it's something I don't really want to particularly talk about publicly. Somebody just did something that basically really embarrassed me and set me back in a lot of different ways personally. And I forgive them, but at the same time, I'm still pretty hurt. And it really throws a wrench in some of the plans that I've got because my plans were dependent on first getting a certain part of my life and connected together in a working order. Now it's just going to take me a lot longer to do the kind of things that I wanted to do. It's not that I can't do them. It's going to take me longer. It's going to hurt society more. It's really going to be a pain in the ass. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Sometimes what happens is in your life, you run into situations where you got to take what you've got and you've got to adapt it. You know what I mean? You got to take a plan that you've got to change it and you've got to adapt it. I think that the problem with people in general is that people don't really adapt their plans enough. It's like they want something in the future and then something comes along the way that's a little bit difficult. And so usually what they do is they run away screaming like a whiny crybaby, right? And they run away in fear from very little obstacles. And because people do this a lot, and not everybody does, but a lot of people do that. Some of the biggest ideas and some of the biggest plans and some of the biggest success stories that could ever be created never get created, right? Because people run away. Because people live lives in fear, and the fear that they're living in makes no sense if they describe it out loud. It's not like if they describe it out loud, somebody's like, oh, that fear makes actually a lot of sense. It's that they live in a fear that is irrational. And that irrational fear creates an irrational story. And that irrational story prevents people from getting things done. It's a much better thing to just live your life totally free of fear. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm either going to go. I don't know if I'm going to stay in Utah for a while. Try to go back to Costa Rica. Go down to Colombia for a while. I think I almost feel like going somewhere new and doing something new with new people that I've never met before. One of the things I really had some experience with this last year's was meeting people that were pretty good people to be around when I had my life at a really, 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 really high level. And then when I went through a time when my life was going through a struggle, none of these people, even the people that were very close, the most close people to me, even family, were nowhere to be found. And I found that really interesting because what I realized after a period of time is that what had actually happened is that I had changed so much that these people that I used to hang out with still being stuck in the way that they used to be, simply desire to stay there. And that's okay because that just means I need to go forward and leave them behind. You ever seen that movie, Left Behind? It's a Christian movie. It has, people are on an airplane and then there's a flash of light and then the pilots are gone or, people are, walking down the street and then there's two people are missing. But the funny thing about the movie is people's clothes land in neatly folded piles. That's actually one of my favorite things about the movie. It's not like they teleport away with their clothes or that they disappeared, their clothes just fall in a heap, which is probably, if it was just their body that was going to disappear, that's probably more accurately what happened. But, you never know, right? And but the funny thing about it is that their clothes, they land in neatly folded piles. It just makes it a little bit extra ridiculous. And then everybody else is like, where did they go? When somebody's like, wherever they went, we just got left behind. Sometimes what you got to do is you got to move forward and just leave your old life behind because the old life is not serving you. I had this situation this last year. Let me tell you some stories about this last year where a bunch of my really, really, really good friends from way back just vanished on me. I'm not telling you this to whine about it, to complain about it. It is what it is. For a long time, it really hurt bad, and I didn't react to it very well. And then I went through a phase where I just wanted to just find them and, put a bucket of ice water above their head when they opened the door and have it slam on them and then walk up and smack them in the face because I was so pissed off. I was real pissed off about it. And then I got to a phase where I looked at it and I thought about, why are they like that? And then I got to a phase where I thought about, why do I care? And then it hit me that if somebody doesn't love me for the way that I am, they never loved me at all. Go meet new people that love you. I'm going to repeat that again, right? If somebody doesn't love you for the way that you are, especially if something's going a little bit rough in your life, that person never loved you at all. They never cherished you. They never cared about you. You know what I mean? And I don't know that it's a good thing to spend your life trying to win back the favor of people that were never really your friends, for example. So sometimes you go through rough patches in your life where you lose things. You might lose a spouse. You might lose a lover. You might lose a best friend. I had a situation recently where I just lost my best friend. You say, what do you mean you lost them? Girl I've been with for 7 years, left me for somebody else when I wasn't around without even inviting me around to be a part of this process and give me a shot or anything. And it wasn't somebody I'd given up on. It's somebody that I was working pretty actively towards restoring things every day for 2.5 years. And then I found out about it, of course, not from them. I found out about it from people telling me about photos being posted on Facebook and stuff like that. The thing about it was, in the relationship to this video, is that it left me in a situation where I have to kind of figure out what to do with my life at the moment, because it alters some of the executability of some of the plans that I've had, for example. And it changes what I can and can't do for long periods of time. And I'm not even sure that this other person cares about me or is even aware of my thoughts on it. I really don't think that they ever cared about me at all. You're seeing a photo of, right there, mother of my children. I do not think that woman ever loved me ever in her life, to be honest with you, the way she's acting towards me right now. Not even for 1 second, I don't think she did. And so I'm left in this situation where I'm trying to figure out what direction to go and how to create something new that I don't know how to create without other people involved. And I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to go somewhere totally new. Here's what I'm going to tell you, though, is that when and I'm going to say that again, Priscilla, I'm just saying this for you because I know you watch my videos. Acting towards me like you've been acting the last little while. You never loved me at all. You don't even know what it is. It was fake the whole time, and you know it. You could never act towards me like you've been acting towards me if you ever loved me even a tiny little itty bitty bit. So in any case, I'm in this space, and I thought about it, and I'm like, what should I do? And you know what the one thing is that I didn't think about. It never came into my mind even one time to give up on what I want in my life. Because what I want in my life is too important. Maybe it changes the direction of energy that things will flow in for a while. Maybe it changes the way that I'll go about doing things a little bit. And I think that needed to change anyways, and I'm okay with that. But one thing it didn't change is it didn't change at all the direction that I'm going to go in my future. People have never believed in me in my life when I dream about something. Never in my life. My parents have kind of always believed me a little bit in some regards, because my parents, I think they got to, because their parent, for example, when I was in network marketing, I think my dad always believed I'd succeed in it and my mom didn't. You know what I mean? Because she was just like, you're still doing it and nobody's paying any attention. It's not going to work. And for the last couple of years, I've received more negativity from people that used to say that they loved me than I've ever received from ever in my life, and the combined total of negativity that I've ever had in my life. If you take all the negativity and all the crap that's come at me in my life, total over 38 years, multiply it by 10, add another 50% onto it. I've received about twice that amount of negative from the people that used to tell me they love me over the last couple of years. Right? And I'll tell you one thing that I'm not going to do. And I've not done this last year. Have I been discouraged by that? Oh, yeah. I've been discouraged, hurt, had my heart broken, been beat up emotionally, been ran out of businesses, had people turn their backs on me, formed organized groups against me. And in that entire time, for 1 second, I have never, ever given up on what I want and my hopes for the future. Not even a single time. It's come to my it's kind of been one of my conclusions that maybe I need to go about doing what I'm doing in a little bit of a different way. That maybe the way that I am communicating my message is not the most effective way to communicate it. And I've kind of come to realization with that, and I've realized that that's probably the case. But one thing that I've not done, not even a little bit, not even a moment, is give up. You say, well, why not? When you're faced with difficulty like that, why would you not give up? I think that it's important for a couple of things. I think that number one, people never believed me when I said I'd succeed in network marketing for a very long time. It took me a real long time to figure out how to get my message across to people in a way that was attractive. A really long time. And then I finally figured it out. And when I figured it out, I just started exponentially growing. And then all of a sudden, people were looking at me and they were like, oh, wow. Dave just came out of nowhere. Oh, what's the secret that he just figured out? Right? And that's how it'll be with me again. And maybe I got to do it that way to rub it in everybody's faces. You know what I mean? I had some major losses this last year. Costa Rica, my previous favorite place, is kind of lost to me. I don't know whether I should go back or just forget about the fact that I have a kid at all. I don't know if any of you have ever been through a situation where you've tried to see a child of yours every day for 2.5 years. 6 days a week. I mean, sometimes, you take a break for a day or something because you're just like, and then you try to see your kid every day and then all you get back is accusations about what you're doing or what you're saying or whatever. And that's what just happened to me for the last 2 years. And then finally, I just got to a spot where I'm like, you know what? Maybe this person just wants to, I don't know what they want, but what's going on is just not acceptable to me. Maybe I'll just have to wait until I've got millions of dollars again and just sue the person out of house and home until they've got nothing left, and I have to chase them around in court cases every day, and then I'll take the custody of the kids from them. Maybe I should do that. I think that it's really important to stand up for yourself, but I also think it's really important to give people mercy and grace. I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but this really didn't have anything to do with the video. What this really is about I've been through some rough times, and I want to let you know I'm not ever going to give up. No matter what anybody says, I won't give up. No matter what trials or tribulations I go through, I won't give up. Because there's big things coming that need people to stand up. There's a couple of people I know. It's really fascinating to me, actually. For the longest time, I really only had a couple of people that believed me in the things that I talk about. Most of my students that are enlightened, they do. At least at one level or another. They might not believe all of it, but they believe most of it. And people that I train in prophetic abilities believe a lot of it because they know how to see the future. But it's really interesting. Recently, I met a guy that I talked about this earlier. I'm going to bring him out and I'm going to do an interview with him. His name's David as well, one of my Facebook buddies. And this person, he died when he was 15 years old. And when he died, actually, he saw the Savior Jesus, and a bunch of stuff happened to him that was super weird. The first thing is Jesus took him backwards in time, and he watched him die on the cross, right? So he actually was carried backwards in time when he died, and he saw Jesus die on the cross. And then Jesus told him he was going to die again at a later time in his life, and he said he'd be on the streets and for 3 days and then rise from the dead, and then from that time there'd be a certain amount of time that would pass, and then the Great Tribulation would start. And he said, "Well, when will I die again?" And he said, "You'll not live past 42 years old." And this is in 1994. The guy's 39 now, so he's basically, his timelines match up with mine exactly. And we've never talked to each other. Now, the other interesting thing is when he died, the Savior Jesus told him all the same stuff that I was told. Things like, for example, about the Great Tribulation and about the demonic things that will exist in society, the Nephilim, and how it's like all the things that are, all these things that we see in the movies will actually happen, that kind of thing. The stuff that I talk about that people think is a little bit more wild on my channel. But this happened actually when he died. In 1994 it happened. And then he came back to life. And the other thing that happened was he was told, this guy in particular, he would be the king of the north. The king of the north scripturally will wind up falling. Okay. But he said, "I want you to be the king of the north." This guy's Canadian. And then he met me, and I was talking to him about this, and the Savior Jesus told him about me back in 1994. Right? And he told me, he said, "I believe that you'll be revealed as the Messiah after the initial rapture." That's what he said. Because there's multiple raptures here. And I was like, "Yeah, that's interesting." You know, the thing about this though is that I'm sitting here and I'm looking out at the future. And here's what I see in it for you. What I see in your future is really whatever you want. Right? Whatever you want. I think that people have a very weird idea about who they are and what they can have. Somehow, some way, what they are and what they have is always limited in modern society. There's an old saying in NLP that goes like this. It says, "Wherever you go, there you are." That's one of them. That wasn't what I was going to say, though. It's whatever it is that you think you are, you're always more than that. Whatever it is that you think you are, you're always more than that. Whatever it is you think you are, you're always more than that. So if you think you're something, whatever it is, you're always more than you think, until maybe you get at the pinnacle of thinking that you are who you are. I only know a couple of people who think about as big as I do. You know what I mean? I've only actually met one of them that seems to think around the same size as me. And this particular guy, he's one of my mentors. This is Michael from Daniel 12:1. And, in the last days, Michael shall stand up. And this guy in particular, he's done nothing but devise a world takeover plan for the last 8 years that will fix every problem in society. Much of it very similar, actually, to the things that I've talked about. But, our plans, they'll work well together. That's why, I'm in line with him. But this Michael character, he thinks really big. And he's the only person I've thought about. Allah, the moon god. I had a dream that David Wood is our Heavenly Father. Yeah, interesting. Okay. There you go. A lot of people actually have had weird dreams about me. Hey, let me tell you about some other weird dreams people have had about me. Okay. So this is when I was in Costa Rica, and I was with Priscilla, right? And I got a message from my old videographer. His name is Jose, and he said, "Dave, I had this like prophetic dream about you." And I said, "Really? Tell me about it." And he said, "You were in this giant mansion on the top of a mountain. And you were like a king commanding people. And it was like the biggest place I had ever seen in my life. And there was like hundreds of Costa Rican contractors working on this place." Right? Now, here's the thing. He saw that very shortly after I saw a vision of where the mountain of the Lord's house is supposed to be. Okay? I had never told this guy I'm the Messiah. I wasn't public about it at the time, right? He knew nothing about the things that I was privately journaling about. Okay. Then I showed that to Priscilla. Now, Priscilla then had a vision about that same thing where she saw two celestial beings come and show her that place and the dimensions of it. This is back before she kind of turned on me and turned into my enemy or something. You know what I mean? That's how I feel right now, Priscilla, if you're watching this. I actually feel like you think you're my enemy. And so which, whatever, you know what I mean? I tried. I did everything I could do, and you betrayed me. So I've just letting it go. This one might take me a little while because it's a little bit more deep at my core. You really, 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 really messed me up. And so, this, that's traitor behavior, Priscilla. You actually betrayed me, like stabbed a knife in my back. But anyway, I don't want to focus on that. I'm trying to let go of it, to be honest with you. So anyways, she had a vision where two celestial beings showed her this same mountain with the same house. And the celestial beings told her, we have to go to work immediately on building this. And at that point, this was actually nearly probably 2 years ago that this happened. She went and told everybody about it for a little while. And then I think the doctors and the psychologists and all the naysayers around her convinced her to stay away from me, is I think what happened. When the angels of God told her the opposite. And but that's two people having visions about the same thing that I've had visions about. Then I've got, so check this out. I've got this guy, David, right, who died, and Jesus told him the same things that I've been talking about in 1994. Okay, and we've never met each other till recently. He's up in Canada, the King of the North. Then we got Michael, who's just finished creating a plan for like a world takeover plan at the same exact time as all these things are lining up. Right? And he's prophesied about in Daniel 12:1. And this is somebody that's been one of my mentors for like 20 years. I didn't know he was Michael because he didn't tell everybody that. Right? But his plan's going to be revealed soon. Okay. So that also matches up with the prophetic timetables. Just the other day, I had a Native American guy, I posted a video about it, who died in the desert, was dead for 3 days, and then came back to life. Right? I've got exponentially increasing amounts of supporting evidence with third-party testimonials that have been growing and 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 growing since I had my spiritual awakening. The only thing I haven't had is science. That I've had some. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I tested my genetics, and I'm like 10 years younger than I should be genetically. And people think I look really young and whatever, but fundamentally, it's still not external scientific proof. I mean, I could take my blood and look at it, and it doesn't even look like blood. It's pretty weird, but you know what I mean? It's something different. So, I've been working on getting that, because the reality is that for a very long time, I've needed people to stand up and to unify and to say, Dave, how can we help and how can we plan things? This is what I think, and this is the way that I feel about it, and the way that you should feel about it when people harm you, and when you feel like you should give up and when you decide not to, is there's going to be a time period when 100% of all the people that have naysayed me over the last couple of years are going to feel so embarrassed they feel like hiding in a cave for 2 years. Because they're going to know what happened because of rejecting me. And they're going to know the karma that's coming from it. And it's pretty severe. I'll tell you something that I'll tell you about. There's big karma for mistreating people. Like, for example, if I mistreated, it'd be like if Jesus was walking down the road and I threw a rock at him. the karma would be real bad for that. Really bad. Right? Like imagine the karma that came to the people who, kept casting Mary out to the streets when she was trying to find a place to have a child. There's you imagine there's pretty severe karma that comes that way, right? And like I'll write an article about it later about what'll hit Costa Rica. You know what I mean? In the future. Costa Rica is going to go through a massive negative time because of this. And there's no escaping it at this point. It's sealed in time. There had to be karma in order to do that, though, because Costa Rica there'll be a bunch of people that'll die in Costa Rica. And this is something I prayed about for a couple of days and got a pretty clear answer on. And there's a reason why it had to happen that way. And the reason it had to happen that way is because Costa Rica is supposed to be Zion. And they're never really going to do it unless they have to go through that time period of struggle. And that time period of struggle is going to it's going to totally uproot a lot of things in the land. And a lot of Costa Rica is going to be destroyed and invaded by their enemies from it. People think when I say things like this that I'm being like over the top. No. See, I see the interweaving, interconnecting energy behind things. And like I know, for example, there's always a reaction for every action and vice versa. There's always a reaction for every action. And so what I know is that if we want the actions and reactions of society to change, we have to change the way we treat people. So there's going to be some massive upheaval and stuff like this, but that's not what this video is all about. It's like, I'm trying to figure out, it's like, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? This is where I'm at right now. I'm like, I kind of look at people and I'm like, look at what they're doing. And I'm like, whatever. It's kind of like this bad attitude, the section I got into for a little while. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, here's what I know. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. And I know that the people that come with me are going to be blessed. And I also know that the people who don't and who continue to be in the background laughing or whatever, they're going to feel like morons a couple years from now. And they'll feel so embarrassed they won't even want to leave their home. Some of them. You say, why would that happen? It just will. Particularly a few that has caused a lot of damage. So remember, there's always karma and there's always justification and rectification for the righteous. 100% of the time. Even if it feels like nobody's defending you, God is still defending you. But also, no matter what comes at you, remember, number one, the past doesn't equal the future. Number two, okay, whatever you want to achieve, you can. And no matter what comes at you, it can't actually stop you unless you allow it to. If you allow it to stop you, it can stop you. Oh, I got to go because I think my family's coming up here. It sounded like my brother. We're going to hike up to Zion's. Anyway, message of the day. I can't tell if this one was positive or not. So I'll end with a very positive. Whatever you think you can accomplish, you can accomplish. Whatever comes at you, just realize it's just like a little speck in time coming at you in all the greatness that will unfold in your future. No matter what anybody thinks you are, no matter what you think you are, I want you to always remember, you're always more than that. Talk to you later.